The quaint little shop nestled inconspicuously between the bakery and the forgotten antique store had always escaped my notice during my daily strolls through the neighborhood. Yet, on that fateful day when rain tapped insistently on the window pane, its eerie allure drew me in like a moth to flame. My daughter, Lily, tugged at my hand, her eyes bright with excitement. "Mommy, look. Dollies." And there they were, rows upon rows of porcelain dolls, their delicate features frozen in time. Their eyes, dark and mysterious, seemed to follow our every move, each one whispering secrets we couldn't decipher. But it was the doll in the corner that captured my attention, a hauntingly beautiful figure with ebony ringlets and eyes that held a sorrowful depth. "Mommy," Lily pleaded, her voice tinged with longing, "can we take her home?" I hesitated, my gaze flickering to the shopkeeper who emerged from the shadows with an air of mystery about her. Evelyn, her name whispered in hushed tones, bore the weight of centuries in her eyes. "The weeping doll," she said, her voice a melodic cadence that sent shivers down my spine. "She carries the grief of lost souls. Take her, if you dare." I should have listened to the warning, the tremor in Evelyn's voice, but something about the doll called to me, pulling at the strings of my heart. After completing the payment, I left the shop with the weeping doll cradled in my arms, unaware of the darkness that lurked within its porcelain form. From the moment we brought the doll home, our lives took a turn for the strange and unsettling. It started to cry with whispers, soft, mournful words that seemed to echo through Lily's room at night, filling the air with a sense of unease that I couldn't shake. Lily, blissfully unaware of the danger that lurked within her room, would speak of the conversations she shared with the weeping doll, her innocent voice filled with joy and excitement. But I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something sinister lurking beneath the surface, a darkness that threatened to consume us both. And then there were the unexplained movements, the subtle shifts in the doll's position that defied all logic and reason. No matter how many times I rearranged her on Lily's dresser, she would always return to the same spot, her eyes following me with a haunting intensity that sent shivers down my spine. But perhaps the most disturbing of all were the changes I noticed in Lily herself. Once vibrant and full of life, she began to grow pale and withdrawn, her laughter replaced by whispered secrets that filled the air with an eerie sense of foreboding. It was as if the weeping doll had cast a shadow over her spirit, draining her of her vitality with each passing day. I decided to dismantle the doll, and as I examined the doll's porcelain form, a sense of unease washed over me. The scratches on its body showed that someone, or something, had attempted to cut the doll with a knife or something sharp, leaving behind jagged marks that spoke of a struggle against an unseen force. As I carefully examined the doll, frustration gnawed at me. There were no visible seams, no screws or hinges to indicate how the doll might be opened. It was as if the porcelain figure had been crafted as a single, solid piece, leaving no clues as to its inner workings. My heart sank as I realized that dismantling the doll might not be an option. It seemed that whatever malevolent force inhabited its form had taken great care to ensure that it remained sealed shut, a sinister mystery that defied all logic and reason. With a heavy sigh, I resigned myself to the fact that I may never uncover the secrets hidden within the doll's porcelain shell. But as I replaced its tattered dress, a sense of unease settled over me like a dark cloud, reminding me that the danger still lurked, waiting to strike when least expected. Desperation clawed at my chest as I struggled to come up with a plan. I couldn't allow the weeping doll to continue its reign of terror, but without a way to dismantle it, I felt powerless to stop it. Enough is enough, I want to stop this, and decided to get rid of this doll by giving it back to the shop where I purchased. As I stepped into the quaint little shop that had once been Evelyn's haunted toys, a sense of unease settled over me like a heavy shroud. The air felt charged with an eerie energy, and the familiar scent of old wood and dust seemed somehow tainted, as if the very walls held secrets too dark to comprehend. To my shock, the shop was no longer the same. The dimly lit interior was now adorned with strange and macabre artifacts, their twisted forms casting long shadows that danced ominously in the flickering light. And standing behind the counter was a man I had never seen before, a tall, gaunt figure with eyes as dark as midnight. I approached him tentatively, my heart pounding in my chest. "Excuse me," I began, my voice trembling slightly. "I'm looking for Evelyn. Is she here?" The man regarded me with a steely gaze, his lips curling into a cold smile. "Evelyn," he repeated, his voice like ice. "I'm afraid you're mistaken, madam. There is no Evelyn here." I felt a chill run down my spine at his words. How could this be? Evelyn had been the one to sell us the weeping doll, hadn't she? And yet, here I stood, face to face with a stranger who claimed to have never heard of her. Determined to get to the bottom of this mystery, I pressed on. "But I purchased a doll from this shop not too long ago," I insisted. A weeping doll, with ebony ringlets and eyes that held a sorrowful depth. Evelyn was the one who sold it to us. The man's expression darkened, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. "I see," he murmured, his voice barely more than a whisper. "You must be mistaken, madam. Evelyn passed away just last week, in a tragic accident. She was the previous owner of this shop." My heart skipped a beat at his words. Evelyn, dead? It couldn't be true. And yet, the look in the man's eyes told me otherwise. I struggled to make sense of the revelation, my mind reeling with the implications of what he had just told me. Desperate for answers, I implored the man, whose name, I learned, was Tariq, to help me unravel the mystery of the weeping doll's origins. With a reluctant nod, he disappeared into the depths of the shop, leaving me to ponder the implications of what I had just learned. Minutes stretched into eternity as I waited anxiously for Tariq to return. And when he finally emerged from the shadows, his expression was grave, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and disbelief. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. Tariq hesitated, his gaze flickering to the floor before meeting mine once more. "I've checked the records," he said slowly, his voice heavy with foreboding. "And what I found, well, it's not something I can easily explain." My heart pounded in my chest as I listened, my mind racing with the possibilities of what he was about to reveal. As Tariq spoke, his words sent a chill down my spine, and I could feel the weight of his revelation settling over me like a heavy shroud. The weeping doll, it seemed, was not just any ordinary toy, it was a cursed object with a dark and mysterious past. According to Tariq, the doll had come into the shop during a bulk purchase of toys from China, with no details or manufacturing date to be found. It had simply appeared among the other items, and they had decided to put it up for sale without a second thought. But now, faced with the sinister truth of its origins, I knew that I had to get rid of it before it could cause any more harm. "Can I have the doll back?" I asked Tariq, my voice trembling slightly. "I need to get rid of it, to protect my daughter." But Tariq's demeanor had changed, his expression darkening as he shook his head slowly. "I'm sorry, but I can't do that," he replied, his tone cold and unyielding. "The doll is a part of our inventory now, and I can't just give it away." I felt a surge of frustration and fear rising within me. How could he be so callous, so indifferent to the danger that the doll posed? I pleaded with him, begged him to reconsider, but he remained adamant, his refusal final. With a heavy heart and a sense of resignation, I realized that I would have to find another way to rid ourselves of the weeping doll's curse. I thanked Tariq for his time, though my gratitude was tinged with bitterness, and I was about to leave the shop when Tariq stopped me. "Wait," he said, his voice tinged with remorse. "I want to help you. I'll take the doll back." Relief washed over me as I handed the cursed object over to Tariq, grateful for his sudden change of heart. With the doll gone, I hoped that our lives would return to normal, free from the darkness that had threatened to consume us. Days passed, and to my relief, Lily seemed to improve. The nightmares ceased, and her laughter returned, filling our home with a sense of joy and warmth that had been absent for far too long. But just when I thought that the nightmare was finally over, there came a knock on our door on a rainy afternoon. I opened it to find Tarek standing on the doorstep, his expression haunted and his eyes filled with sorrow.